Well, this is the last class on anthropology. We have come to basically to the end. I have touched actually on every aspect of anthropology. We were lastly talking about the doctrine of the inability of man. What is the doctrine? The doctrine stated simply is that because man is totally depraved, he is not able to do anything to work out his own salvation by pleasing God. The inability of man to do anything that will secure his own salvation. Many misunderstand the doctrine to mean that man is not able to do any good works. No, the sinful man is able to do many good works. Look even Mother Teresa, how noble works she has done. Who can deny that what she has done is not good works? But the sad thing, or the reality is that all that she has done cannot gain salvation for her. God rewarded her even by giving her a noble prize. Yes. But nobody can work out salvation, by their own merits. Put this in silence. Many people think that's not a reasonable thing. I mean, somebody who honestly and sincerely working so hard to gain salvation, to please God, and then God is not rewarding them by salvation, they think that's unfair on the part of God. Yes. Well, it would have been unfair if man is the judge to judge what God will do. But it is not unfair because man is not the judge. God is the judge. When God has created man in such a perfect way, and man has broken that, it's like a father or somebody presenting a very costly, precious, crystal dish. You wanted to break it, so you dropped it and broke it, and now you are trying everything you can do to restore it back by putting all the tapes and all these masking tapes and this and that, all the glue and all that. And if God does not accept it, as a new ways, say that it's unfair for God. Haven't you seen how much amount of work I have done? What amount of money I have spent to restore it back, tons of glue I have brought and masking tapes I have brought. Why God is not accepting it? God says that simply I can't, because that's not the ways I gave you. I don't question your sincerity, I don't question the cost involved and all. But I just cannot receive that back. That remains the fact. The inability is not necessarily saying that man has no goodness in him. Man does not have any goodness that can be exchanged for salvation. Yes. Because every aspect of total depravity says that man's personality completely, body, soul, spirit, everything is depraved. In the sense that God sees him as totally sinner. Yes, a total sinner. Every part as well as the whole. Plenary sinfulness we call it. It's plenary sinfulness, the total sinfulness of man. Inability means such a man is not able to work out his own salvation. He could do many good things. Actually, a person who is sincerely doing many good things and who is trying to live up to the revelation he has received, God is so gracious to grant him an opportunity to hear the gospel so that he can be saved. A good example is Cornelius, a man who lived up to his knowledge he has received. And God said, your prayers and alms have come up to me, you know. So what now? You call Peter, who will tell you how you could get saved. So that's the best reward we can get, an opportunity to hear the gospel. And if you receive the gospel, then you can be saved. But then the salvation is not coming as a reward necessarily for the good things. But the good things, you know, God used it, yes. God is gracious enough to grant him an opportunity. He has done so many good things. But the good things itself cannot secure a seat in heaven. So this is where Pelagianism, first Pelagius says that there is no total inability or total depravity. Pelagius denies both. Every child is born neutral. You know, he is able to do good if he wants. So no special grace of God is needed. Death of Jesus Christ is absolutely not necessary for the salvation of man. It only is a good example how we should die for our enemies and for others. That's all what Jesus has said. You know, nothing connection with salvation. So Pelagius denied. Semi-Pelagius say that sinful man is a sinner, but that sin has not affected his will. He is still able to will to be saved. So if he wants, he can be saved. You know, he does not need God's grace. The total personality is not degenerated completely. The will of man is not affected by the sin. It only has a bad example in Adam, but more than that, it does not. So this whole system, you know, the Roman Catholics are Pelagianism, and you know, the Unitarians are Pelagianists. You know, they don't believe there is any miracle, there is any, you know, they don't accept even the whole matter of sin. You know, man continues to be as he was created. Yes. So there are many who believes that sort of thing. You know, the Unitarian churches, they're very big churches. A lot of big, rich people, educated people go because they don't like the idea of somebody calling them a sinner. You know, so they say we are decent people. You know, we are decent people. We go there, so they don't pray, save our souls. You know, they only do good things for the betterment of the humanity. Say, let us work. You know, that's the sort of thing they do. So there are basically three views on this doctrine of inability. One, I said the Pelagius view to deny the inability totally. The second is a semi-Pelagianist doctrine where they admits the power of man. You know, he is weakened, but the will of man is not weakened. He is able to work out his own salvation. The other is what is called the Augustinian view or the Protestant view, you know, generally Protestant. Yes. By the way, by Protestant, many people think that when you hear Protestant, what comes to your mind?
Protesting.
That's somebody who protests. No. The word Protestant does not have that meaning. Yeah. Prostero means, you know, someone who stands for certain truths. That's what it means. Protestants are people who stood for certain truths. So we are Protestants because the Catholics denied to certain truths. We stand for those truths. So they are called, okay, you stand for certain biblical truths. So the Protestant doctrine, basically, the Augustinian is called, some call it the Reformed doctrine, is that, you know, they believe in the hereditary depravity that man, since the fall, you know, he is utterly unable to turn himself unto God or to do anything truly good in God's sight for salvation. So these views have been corresponding to the view, you know, or God's grace for the salvation of man. That's where it comes. A Pelagius does not believe, you know, he needs the grace of God. What is the grace of God? What do I want that for? I'm able to live myself. I'm able to work out myself. Sin hasn't affected my personality or anything. Adam's sin only has given me a bad model. But I'm not obligated to follow that model. That's all. I don't have to be like Adam. Every child is born, a virgin child. If that child does sin, then he becomes a sinner. If the child does not sin, then he is not a sinner, for Pelagius. But Pelagius said that the child will sin. That's true, but because of the bad example of his great-grandfather. Not because there is a necessity, but because the example. Yeah. It's not necessary that a thief's child has to be a thief. It's not necessary. It's not like, certain genetic diseases you
Pass over.
pass over. No, sin is not a genetic disease, they will say that. Sin is only a personal demerit you have, you cannot pass to your children. But your children see that and they may do the same thing. That's what Pelagius view. It is acceptable to many. Remember the famous statement of Dr. our Vivekananda, that it's a sin to call man a sinner. That's what he meant that. It's a sin to call man a sinner. It's a Pelagius view. Hey, no, who said man is a sinner? Nobody is a sinner. Adam sinned, that's his problem, not my problem. So, Vivekananda and Hinduism won't call, the intellectual Hinduism won't call anybody a sinner. The popular Hinduism will be different, So most all religions goes with that. Christianity, true Christianity brand everybody a sinner. All have sinned and come short of the glory of God. Wow, that's terrible. It's better not to be a Christian, Yeah. Do you have a choice? So it comes to the whole doctrine of the grace of God for salvation. What man has to do for salvation. So the Pelagius denied the necessity of any supernatural influence or the Holy Spirit or the operation of the Spirit for the regeneration of man. Man could do it all by himself. Semi-Pelagians admit that man's inability to do it all by himself, but claim that man is able to cooperate with God because his will is still good, he can cooperate with God. So there semi-Pelagianism believes there's a cooperation. God says take it, I can take it. Pelagius says God says take it, Pelagius says I don't need it, you give it. Why do I need it? So semi-Pelagians say that okay, I'll cooperate. That's what. While the question of salvation depends upon this cooperation. They say that Jesus died, I'll cooperate. That's it. Actually, for the semi-Pelagians, the death of Jesus Christ is made effective by man. If no man will cooperate, the death of Jesus Christ is a waste. Absolute waste. It's just like you cooked rice for 1,000 people, invited them all. If nobody comes, what will you do with the rice? You throw it away. So they take only the first part of the story that Jesus said about the wedding, the king's wedding. Those invited did not come. That's the second part. What was the second part? You go and force people to come in until my dining hall is full. See that? The option is not on the people because it's by force they are brought in. Whether they want or not, say the king commands, you get it. Okay? That's how they come in. So Jesus said that story. The Pelagians said that we don't need the food. Semi-Pelagians said that I will come if I want. I'm not settled on it. So please excuse me. I have other things to do now. But the Reformed say that God catches you by put you there in the dining hall and make you to enjoy that food, which is the best way. That's the whole question. If man is given the choice to decide which one, I will go for the last one. Because otherwise I cannot enjoy the food. Because I am not going to cooperate to you, I am left it to myself. So the whole matter of how salvation is worked out, that's where this inability theoretically comes. So the Augustinian Protestants ascribe the whole work of regeneration to God. We say that salvation from A to Z is the work of God. Salvation from A to Z is the work of God. That makes some people very uncomfortable because they say that, what am I? Just machine or something? Well, let's realize it. What is man? A handful of dust into which God has breathed His breath. So that's what. A good, honest ground to the earth, the definition will be what is man? Man is a handful of dust into which God breathed His breath. That's what it is. So we think that we are somebody so big. Our greatness comes because God created us in the image of God. That's what. So all our greatness is created greatness. Only created. Only God has uncreated, self-possessive greatness. So Augustinianism rightly says, salvation from A to Z is the work of God. Before the foundation of the earth, He decided who to be saved. Their names are written there. In the fullness of the time, God sent His own Son for to save those people. And then He sent the Holy Spirit to work in the hearts of the sinners. Holy Spirit opens the eyes so that we begin to see that we are sinners and Christ is our substitute. He gives us the faith to take Him and the grace to cry, Abba, Father. That's why I say nobody can confess Jesus as Lord except in the Holy Spirit. Nobody. So salvation, and then God takes over the responsibility of carrying us all the way from here to eternity. The guarantee is given that not one will be lost. Not one will be lost. So that, isn't that amazing and beautiful? Salvation from A to Z. So, now the question is, why this inability? Is it because our soul is lost, we don't have a soul? No. Why this inability? First of all, it does not arise from any loss of the faculty of the soul. We did not lose anything in our soul. We have our soul and spirits. Many people describe sin as metaphysical. Sin is ethical, sin is not metaphysical. You know the difference. Metaphysical means, when God created man with a body and with soul spirit. That's our metaphysically, we have that two parts, material part and immaterial part. The immaterial part has two aspects, the soulish aspect with which we related to man and the spiritual aspect with which we related to God. Now, sin did not take away any of those things. Sin did not take away any of those things. We still have the body, we still have the soul, we still have the spirit. Sin is ethical. God said don't do certain things. We have done that. That's ethics, right? Behavior, ethics. So God said, if you do what I told you not to do, then my relationship with you will be over. I'll turn my face towards, and you will not be allowed to continue in my garden. You will be thrown out. You cannot come to me. You cannot approach me. Our relationship is an ethical relationship. You have to obey me. Yes. So man has sinned, so it is disobedience. That's ethics. It's a behavioral problem. Why man disobeyed? Because he didn't want to believe what God said. If you eat, you will die. Man decided, hey, that statement does not sound good for me. The other statements sound good. If you eat, you will be like God. Yeah, so that sounds better. So this I am going to disobey. I am going to do that. So he willfully, deliberately disobeyed God, and God said, you are a sinner. That means we are separated. We are separated. Yes. You know, we are habitual of seeing disobedience from our own life and from the life of others, and especially from our own children. You know, right from the beginning they disobey us. Our relationship with them is never lost. You know, we say, son, come here, he runs there. What do? We run after him, take him and say, you know, Khusrudi Kutan, you know. Yeah, if I call you this way, you run that way. So we kind of have a habit of appreciating the naughtiness. We kind of give a different label to disobedience. We won't say that he is a sinner, he sinned against my authority, I told you to come here, you went there, that's disobedience. Get out of my home, this is my home. If you want to live under this roof, you have to obey me. You know, otherwise there is no use in saying you are my son, out. What do you want? You want to stay here, then you have to obey me. That's not our way of functioning. Our way of functioning is such that someday that son will come, you get out. You know, why don't you go somewhere and live? That's what they do. They take the parents and put them in Kashi railway station or somewhere. You know, Benares or somewhere in the old age, and they will say, wait, Dad, here I'll be back, and they're gone. See, our lifestyle, so it's very difficult for us to think that when man sinned, God has said our relationship is over. What God is that? Only ate a little fruit. God says it's not the question of fruit, it's the question of my authority. You challenge my authority. I said no, you said yes, I'll do it. You know, we say, son, don't take the cookie. You know, he takes the cookie, so what do we do? We, you know, open the lid and we say, take as much you want. Okay. That's our liberality. That's because we are sinners. We have disobeyed God and we have come. How do we make it up? With our children. God is not like that. Lucifer has only one thing. Forever. He is not given a second chance. Man is given a second chance because man is not the initiator of the sin, Satan is. The provocation came from outside, therefore the encouragement for salvation must come from outside. For Satan, sin came from inside, so there is no solution for that. So God has been gracious to us, you know. So the inability is not a metaphysical inability, it is an ethical inability. It is an ethical inability. We all know that if a child will say lie first time, and if the parents don't punish, what the child will do? This child only took a cookie and parents said, did you take the cookie? No, Daddy, no, Mommy, I didn't take, I didn't see it. Mommy, okay, good boy, don't take it, okay. So second time the child learned what? You can take it, but you have to deny it. The second time child took 10 rupees and he said, did you see, take my, no, Mommy, I didn't take it, I didn't even see. Okay, very good boy. That means that the first sin has started out a process. Now it's difficult to break that habit because that child is a habitual thief. He made it. That's the same thing with man. You know, what happened, transpired in the Garden of Eden was not the last sin, it was the first sin. How many sins we have committed from that day? Think of that. He said, any of you remember the first lie you said or the first sin you have done? I don't remember. I even don't remember the last sin I have done. What to talk about the first sin? Means in our thoughts, in our dreams, you know, in our looks, sin continuously takes place and we just confess every day and close the Lord sin that I have done deliberately or sin that I'm ignorant, please forgive me, Lord. Did Paul say that I have no conviction of any sin? But that does not make me sinless, because God is greater than me. When He sees what takes place in my heart, even the time when I am sleeping, oh, how many thoughts are going on, what we call our subconscious mind. What are the thoughts that are going on? An evil thought is an evil thought, no matter whether it came in a conscious mind or a subconscious mind. Evil thought in subconscious mind does not become righteous thoughts. No. So we are not aware. That's why in the Old Testament, there are offerings for sins of ignorance. Offerings for sins of... Every believer need to offer sacrifices for sins of ignorance by confessing to Lord, I may have done many things of which I am not conscious, Lord, but I am a sinful creature, therefore I know there is a possibility of committing unconscious thought. That's why I said, I don't remember what was my last sin. Only I can remember my conscious last sin. Which by God's grace, not too many, committing these days. Commissions, omissions, there are many. Omissions, yeah. Can pray without ceasing. But I may not have prayed without ceasing. That is sin, right? Yes. But sins of commissions we may not be doing as we grow, more mature. The sins of commissions we are not doing. Things God told not to do, we may not do it. But things God told us to do, we may not do it. That's a little difference. So it is our inability is not metaphysical. That we needed to know that it is ethical. And for anything that is ethical, there is a solution. Metaphysical means we lost it. Then we cannot get it back because we lost it. How can we get it back? Only God has to do an operation or something and make a new man or something. So, the second is total inability is not the result of the loss of free agency. The total inability is not the result of the loss of free agency. Man, even after sin, remains a free moral agent. By a free moral agent does not mean he can do anything he wants. That's not the meaning. By a free moral agent means he is given the ability. He is given the ability to make choices. He is not given the freedom to make choices. The ability to make choices. There is a distinction. A majority of the theologians say that man is a free being to make what choices he wants. But that's a terrible thing to say that. Then God would not have told Adam not to eat that one, that fruit of the tree of knowledge. What God would have said that there are two trees, you can eat whatever tree you want. That's what the true freedom of choice. But there are two trees, don't eat from the tree of knowledge, though I know that you are able to eat it. I want you to subject your ability to my will. I don't want you to eat. Your ability to eat, I want you to subject it to my will. So man is a morally free agent does not mean that, God gave man the freedom to do whatever he wants. Then God has to honor that freedom. As I usually use the illustration, I have two chocolates in my hand, a little child there, and they say that take whichever you want, this or this. And he had taken this, and I said, gave him a slap. But then, why are you spanking me? Why you didn't take this one? You took this one. But you said you can take it whichever I want. See, God said, don't eat this one. If you eat this one, our relationship will be lost. So that means he was morally free to eat whatever he wanted. No, he had the ability to take it even if God said no. But then he will be responsible for it. So the moral free agency does not mean